Hey, welcome to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, Reverend Steve Walling, from the Spiritual Awareness Center, located in beautiful Fresno, California. Fresno, the heart of the Central Valley, and the Central Valley, the heart of the great state of California. Welcome to the show today. You know, we got a lot of heart going on here each and every day, but on Thursdays I get to share it with you, or whatever it is that you happen to catch this video. I hope that you started your day by claiming the good that is gifted to you each and every day. You know, I talk about this each week, and I'll continue to do so because I so firmly believe in the power that is available to you. But you got to make yourself available to it too. So in the morning, before you even open your eyes, just declare that this day is the day that was gifted to you, that you may know and grow and experience a greater good in that day. And yes, there are some days that we're going to be presented with challenges that we're going to have to overcome. But if we claim our good at the beginning of the day, we don't go through the day alone. We never really go through the day alone anyway, but you know, when you claim it right from the beginning of the day, you're just always aware that spiritual sidekick, that bigger God, is there with you as you meet those challenges. And if it's a day that presents you with greater good in that day, that you can just know the source of that good and be grateful that you are aware of your place in the scheme of creation. There is but one mind. There is but one life. That mind, that life is God. That mind, that life is our life right now. And it is perfected. It is perfection. And we have within us, because we were created in the image and the likeness of the divine, in the nature of the divine, we have it within us, each and every one of us, to make that connection with our source and to go there, to be there. But it's something that we have to work on. It's something that, you know, when we begin to learn about the truth of who we are, it's not just because we know that truth that it automatically unfolds in our life. We have to take that truth and we have to put it into practice in day-to-day life experience. And so that's what we've been talking about. I started 2 shows back going through a book that Ernest Holmes wrote. It was called This Thing Called Life. It's been republished in The Art of Life. It's a great little book. It gives us some idea of what Dr. Holmes believed and felt about our place. And that's a good thing to understand, because he wrote a book called The Science of Mind. And if you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend that you get a copy. It's a read that's worth reading, not only through cover to cover, but each and every day to read something out of it. It is a source of wisdom, a source of spiritual truth, a source of so much that if you started reading it today and continued to read it each and every day for the rest of your physical expression on this life, you'll never learn, never embody all that's there. But what you will get out of it is truly awesome. We are so important to life individually, and yet materiality, what we're used to as we grow up, doesn't tell us that, doesn't enforce that. You know, we hear growing up about our shortcomings, we hear about our limitations, we hear about what life is going to do to us, not what we can do for ourselves and then have life do for us also. You know, so there's so much baggage that gets programmed into our mind that even if we are not aware that it's there, it's still there, and it still influences us in our day-to-day life experience. And so before I get into where we're going to start today, one thing I want to go back, I've talked about this in shows in the past, but you want to know what your beliefs are. You want to know, because I'll tell you, you really don't know what your beliefs are. You know some of them, but there's a lot that you have, and there's a lot in the literature that will back this up. There's a lot that you believe in that you're not even aware of. So one of the little tools that I teach for people, if you want to really learn the truth of what it is that you believe, is you begin to sit down and you start making a list of things that are going on in your life, things that you're doing, things that are being done to you, things that you're experiencing, from the greater global to the more intimate. This is not a process that you're going to do in 5 minutes. Matter of fact, I would say you take possibly weeks in compiling this list of what life is mirroring back to you. And once you have compiled this list, then you can begin to look at something on that list and you have to ask yourself, well, what do I believe for this to be true for me? Well, obviously it's true for you because it made it onto your list. So whatever that belief is, you make a column for that belief and you can go through the various things, but you're going to find that oftentimes there'll be something on that list that may cover a belief of one thing here and a belief of something else over there. Then you put that on both columns. And again, this is another process. It's going to take time, but you're important enough to take that time for yourself. And you will begin to create a picture, if you will, of the image that life is mirroring back to you. That is a mirror image of what it is that you believe. R.D. Laing, and it's a great quote, and it's been a while since I used it, so I'm going to use it again today as we get started. And that is, the things that we do and say are limited by what we fail to notice, or the things that we think and do are limited by what we fail to notice. And because we fail to notice that we have failed to notice, there's little that we can do to change until we notice how failing to notice has shaped our thoughts and deeds. And it's so very true. We don't notice what it is we don't notice, and yet that can be significantly important in our life, our day-to-day life experience, and in our ability to create a better life for ourselves. So, going back to the book, we finished off chapter 1 and chapter 2, and we got into chapter 3, almost to the end of the chapter, and I wasn't sure that I was going to pick up where I left off or whether I was going to start right in chapter 4, but I'm going to go back here because as I was reviewing for the show today, there's some great stuff, and I don't want to just miss it. Okay, Holmes says you are compelled to live your own life, to think your own thoughts, to exercise your own being. Start with this simple proposition, and he gives this. He says, life is. It's natural. It is natural goodness and kindness. Now, I'll bet you there's a lot of people that will tell you that life is anything but goodness and kindness. But it is. It is peace, joy, and wholeness. It is, I live in this life, he says. This life flows through me. This life is in everyone and in everything. Therefore, I am one with all that is, all people, all things, all events. One with. And I've talked about this over various shows, understanding the importance of understanding what being one with, understanding what that means in our life, particularly as we seek to affirm a greater life experience and align ourselves with principle. If we don't truly understand what it means to be one with all and where that puts us in our role of aligning with principle, then we need to go back and take a look at that. And one of the places you can start is page 285 in the textbook, about a third of the way down to the bottom of the page. Holmes lays out a very important part of that. So he says, you are using the law of life every time you think. Not occasionally when you think, not when you're just thinking consciously, but every time we think. And the realization that we have to get with that is that we're thinking even when we're not aware that we're thinking. There is a stream of consciousness, thoughts that run into the background, run in the background of our objective, our conscious minds. It's always there, always ongoing, and there is a trend of thinking that can define what that is. It's either positive or negative. It's either a level of abundance or limitation. It could be neutral. And most oftentimes, it's a combination of all those things. The greater influence we put on that trend of thinking in our consciousness, to redirect it towards the good, the right, the positive, the abundant, the things that align us in principle, in consciousness, in thought with the divine, with life, the greater good we're going to see unfold in our day-to-day life experience. It's an amazing thing. And he says, no matter how long you may have been using thought and using it wrongly in your ignorance, the very day, the very hour, yes, the very moment that you begin to use this power rightly, the effects of having used it wrongly will pass from your experience. And that's easy for me to read. It's easy to hear. it can be rather difficult to implement. It's like, I can't think of the fellow's name, but the guy that came up with the complaint-free world. There's a book. You can get the book, and he's got those little bracelets out, and you can get those. And what it is you put that bracelet on one hand, on one wrist, and it stays there until you find that you have complained. And if you have complained, it comes from this wrist and it goes on to this wrist, and it stays there until you complain again. The goal is to go 21 days without having to swap that bracelet from wrist to wrist. And if you get to 20 days and you complain, the days start all over again. You will learn a lot about yourself by doing that. And at the same time, you'll go a long way for creating a better life experience for yourself and for the world around you. And this is one of the things that we, particularly as New Thought individuals, science of mind people, religious science people, we really need to wrap our minds around the idea that we create a better world by creating a better ourself. It's not about going out and creating a better world by defining what the world has to be so that other people can experience a better world or a happier world or a more abundant world. That as we do that, all we're really doing is imposing our judgment upon people that may not see life in the same way we do. I mean, we understand that there's many ways to get to the top of the spiritual mountain. We talk about this. But we got to understand that there's many ways to see life as being whole, perfect, and complete and positive that may not be in the exact same frame of reference that we see it, but it's good, it's positive, and it's life affirming. So when we get it in mind that we change life by changing ourselves for the better, and you'll find this in the literature. Holmes writes about this a lot, that we can go much further in creating a world that works for everyone. And has nothing to do with going out into the world. It has everything to do with going within ourselves. And I'm going to be addressing more of that theme, if you will, later on this year. So I want to move along here. He says, does it make any difference how long a room has been dark when you introduce light? How long the earth has been parched when refreshing rains come and bring new life. A new seed time, and a new harvest coming into the field. When you bring light into the darkness, it doesn't make any difference how much darkness is there. Light removes the darkness. Life removes darkness. Affirming life in a positive way removes darkness, okay? He says this is where faith plays its greatest role. Again, do you have enough faith in your ability to create a greater good you? Do you have enough faith in you to do that so that you cease worrying about the world outside yourself and have that faith not only in your ability to create a better you, but in the divine principle that stands behind you, around you, and exists within you as that power and presence for good that is awaiting your maybe a discovery, maybe a renewed visit, maybe a realization, however you want to look at it. It's available to you. He says, because life is in you, then the truth is in you. And that's truth with a capital T. When we understand the truth, when we understand the truth, it is the truth that will set us free. Truly will set us free. He says, the Spirit is in you, and the power is in you. If you will just wait on this power, this truth, and this light, they will guide you. If you will wait on them. Not wait for them, but wait on them. Okay? He says, since you are fundamentally a mental being, you can think yourself into being unhappy, depressed, or you can think yourself into being glad. You can think yourself into the type of life experience that you want to express. You can create a new image in front of the mirror of life so that you can experience a whole new life. That power is available to you. and it comes only through you. And when you begin to become aware of that and accept it and embody it, things can explode in your life in such a positive way. One last thing before I end up this part of chapter 3. And he says, you must become the master of your own thinking. This is the only way you will realize freedom and joy. You must become the master of your own thinking. That's an awesome thought. Easier said than done. We'll take our first break. I'll see you when we come back.
With Organic Pastures Raw Milk, you're getting a product that has been meticulously managed from grass to glass. From our pastures to our dairy, creamery, and distribution, we work hard to produce a product that is safe and clean for you.
Got lactose intolerance or dairy allergies? Discover delicious raw milk and discover dairy the way it's supposed to be. We provide tours and would love to see you. Come visit the cows, watch the milking, the cheese being made, and learn all about raw milk. We're just 20 miles south and west of Fresno, California. Call to schedule a tour at 559-846-9732.
The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find the Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
Christy Majors is your local real estate connection. With a solid, hardworking team, traditional listings, short sales, probate listings, and foreclosures are treated in a personal and caring way and close in a timely fashion. Since 2009, Team Majors has closed more than $75 million worth of homes all over California. Reliable and trustworthy, Christy and her team will go the extra mile for every client, whether selling or buying a home. So give Team Majors a call at 559-464-5606 or visit teammajors.com.
After a tough day at the track, cleaning up can be a time-consuming task. That's why we use Extreme Cleaner, the non-toxic, biodegradable, multi-purpose cleaner and degreaser. Extreme Cleaner cuts through even the toughest of grease and grime. Fast. Great for cleaning tools and work surfaces. Extreme Cleaner. Tough on grime, safe on the environment. Visit extremecleaner.com to find a retailer near you.
Hi, I'm the host of New Thought Talk, Reverend Steve Walling, and I want to take a moment today and give you an opportunity to support our ministry, support our show. You can do that through a PayPal payment. You send the payment through PayPal to the email address of Madera, MADERASAC @gmail.com. If you don't have a PayPal account, you can go down below the link and you can find where you can enter a debit or credit card. I want to thank those that have supported us and those that will continue to support us. You have a great day. Bye.
If your home floods, who will you call? When your house springs a leak, it's time to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. Clean Master will be there in 60 minutes to start fixing your home. And Clean Master bills your insurance directly, saving you the hassle because you've got enough to worry about. Clean Master also offers carpet and upholstery cleaning, carpet repair, pet odor removal, and more. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, 559-213-9430, and visit cleanmasterflood.com.
Pour yourself a glass of Crybaby wine, available at the market and Sam's Italian Deli. And remember to ask for Crybaby wine at your favorite restaurant.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling. Okay, so this thing called life, moving into chapter 4, Holmes starts us off with the one who learns how to control his or her thinking, learns how to control his or her destiny. That's a very big and powerful statement, and yet Holmes has backed this up time and time again through his teaching. And you know, one of the things I like to point out to people that sometimes people get caught up in the idea that they are of a certain faith or religious belief, and this is not a part of their religious belief, if you will. You can still put these principles into practice and still maintain your own relationship with your personal beliefs, your relationship with that which you understand to be God or spirit or whatever. It's available to all. And I will say as a minister of religious science that it's available to each and every one of us because we are, each and every one of us, an expression of God, individualized in us, through us, so that we may live this life and live it more abundantly. That's part of what the master teacher brought into the world with his teachings. And one of the great discoveries of the 20th century, the latter part of the 19th, early part of the 20th century, are the principles that were put into a rather concise format of that which we call New Thought, with some variation, but available to each and every one of us. We can control our destiny. He says we are bound by our own thought world. That trend of thinking that I talked about a bit ago. He says, nothing can save us but ourselves. Nothing can save us but ourselves. As we seek to go outside of ourselves to save the world, if you will, or to put our image on what the world should be into the world or on the world, we're not doing the world any favors. And we're not helping our fellow beings on the planet. Regardless of where you're at with your belief or understanding, whether it is, societal, spiritual, political, environmental, all these things. Ultimately, there's but one life. That life is God. When we seek to create a better self, we add to the power of the greater good of the world. And no matter where we're at personally and individually, as we do so, life changes. And it changes for a greater good. And we become aware of our relationship to that greater good. And we see that greater good unfold into the world, and everybody's better for it. It seems antithetical to what we understand. Everybody wants to be an activist on some one thing or another. If you want to really be an activist within yourself, because that's where you have incredible amount of power. Believe it or not, as they say. He says negative forces operating in our lives will die a natural death. Negative forces operating in our life covers a big field of things. Covers most all, if not all, those things that you've been fighting in your life. Negative forces operating in our lives will die a natural death if we practice the habit of being disinterested in them, okay? And all outward forms of behavior that are automatic as a result of this intermental picturing will change, will up-level, if you will, in the vernacular of today's world, right? He says we are continuously being drawn into situations or circumstances, sometimes against our objective will, but seldom against our unconscious willing. Most of our mental imagery is unconscious. It comes either from previous experience or the experiences of the race. Those things I talked about as we grow up, the influences we have that create the beliefs that we don't even know that we have that so control our life experience. You're a powerful being. Do you believe it? And if you're answering yes, then my next question is, how come your life doesn't show it? And for those who say, well, their life is showing it, then my challenge is creating a life that shows it at a higher level, a greater degree of livingness. Don't be satisfied with where you're at, ever. Ever. Because you can do more, experience more, have more. And when I say do more, experience more, and have more, I'm not talking about, being another Bill Gates, although it could be. It could be being another spiritual leader in the world. It could be being another creator of peace. It could be being a great life expressing individual within a family that has so desperately needed someone to be in that leadership role in that family, and by doing so, the whole family is transformed. The opportunities are limitless, just like the divine is limitless, and it's available to each and every one of us when we begin to seek it out and put it into practice in our lives. He says, you will soon learn, if you make the experiment, that one kind of thought can neutralize another. Okay, this is one of the methods that Dr. Holmes talks about, and that is as we become aware of a limiting thought, okay, or a negative thought, or a non-life affirming thought, and we become, as we start our journey, as we're working on our journey, we need to become aware of what we're allowing to live in our mind. I mean, we allow a lot of stuff to live there that's not really good for us, right? But it's there. So we begin to make an effort to become aware, and when we catch it, maybe it's fleeting, maybe it's a theme that's kind of been hanging around since this morning, but when we catch it, we become aware of it. In that moment that we become aware, we can address it, and we can, through creating a new thought within ourselves that is the opposite of that, if you will, the declaration of that negative limiting thought has no power, and replacing it with a positive life-affirming thought where the power that responds to you will take hold. And yeah, if you have a habitual way of thinking that's not so life-affirming for you, you can break that habit. All habits that we have can be broken, but most habits we have will stay with us because we either refuse to break them if we're aware of them, or we're not even aware of them, and so therefore we can't address them. But on this journey, on this adventure to creating a better you, a greater life for yourself, and thus a greater world life expression for all, we want to become aware. We want to become aware of where we're at. How have we placed ourselves in this greater scheme of things? And then working there within ourselves, bringing that light in, bringing that awareness of the divine, and affirming our good and refusing to accept anything less than our good, aligning ourselves with love and harmony, peace, bounty of good, bounty of beauty, and making that our place in the world. Okay, so he says, what if we're unhappy and afraid? Those dim shadows of a false identity are dissipated when we address them, when we head on. I've talked about when I did the before we got into the book, I spent three shows on addressing life as life energy, not necessarily as a spiritual understanding. And the thing is that we, in our expression in this life, we're designed, if you will, to have challenges and then to overcome those challenges. And through that, meeting those challenges, through overcoming those challenges, we grow. We grow in our ability to express life. We grow in life energy within ourselves. We grow spiritually. If on some particular occasion, maybe we fail to be successful at that point, we're not failures, and we don't own failure. What we do is we own the lesson, and we find the lesson, so that when we go forward again, we can use what we learned in that lesson to be successful with the next obstacle. Because life does not cease when we have failed to overcome an obstacle. We may be unhappy about it. Some people throw up their hands. They may walk away from a business or a relationship or whatever, a profession or a skill that they're trying to learn. And that's foolishness. You were created to meet obstacles, to overcome and grow beyond them. And you don't have to be owned by what you have come up against. But what you do come up against, you have to address. You'll find that if there's something in your life that you have turned your back on, that you are running away from, if you will, it's like it gets bigger. It comes at you from different directions. And in a sense, you have allowed it to own you. And it's only when you turn and face it and you take it head on, just like David facing Goliath, when there were so many individuals that were so afraid, and yet this one small individual went out, and he didn't go out with a great deal of armor. What he did was he went out with a great deal of faith, and that faith is available to you today, always available. We have to own it, claim it. He says, don't be afraid of being spiritual. I was talking to a young person this last week, and we were talking about how many of the so-called millennial class have turned away from what they understand as organized religion. And one of the reasons, and the primary reason that this particular individual gave to me, is because they are seeking to be more individual, greater individual, and they don't believe that by belonging to a faith that they see as limiting their individuality, that they can't express the truth of who they are. I addressed that with them. I'm going to address that with you when we come back after this very next break. See you then.
Ghost Golf is Fresno's most spectacular family entertainment center. It's frightening how much fun you'll have on our 18-hole indoor haunted graveyard course. Skeletons welcome you, but watch out. All sorts of creatures may come to life. Ghost Golf is perfect for scary good parties, so book yours today. You'll get free plays at the Mummy Shooting Gallery, arcades, and air hockey. Check out our party and weekday specials online and like us on Facebook. Come play at family-friendly Ghost Golf. Good times will haunt you.
At McDermott Counseling, you will receive the highest level of care and a welcoming, safe space in which to discuss your most personal issues. Our therapists go above and beyond for you. Call 559-280-5756 or visit McDermottCounseling.com to find a caring therapist who best suits your needs.
Diane Ainsworth's books of poetry and scriptures are available at CondioPress.com and as ebooks at Amazon.com. Diane hopes the words in her books will convey the unconditional love Jesus has for you. Learn more at God'sInspirationsBlog.wordpress.com and get a copy of Diane's books today.
Hello everyone, my name is Miss G. I offer fun and affordable promotion and advertisement on my talk show. It is called Fresno Vibes. We talk, we play awesome music. I also feature a bunch of different bartenders from different places. I like to have restaurants. I like to have any event, any kind of fun stuff. Contact me at rmgmissg@gmail.com and we will have so much fun and we will promote your business, promote your event right here on my show. So contact me. We'll have fun. Thank you.
In a world where Friday nights have become synonymous with going out to get wasted, consider not doing that, and instead save your money and tune in to the Hey Slingshot Show, Friday nights at 7 p.m. Or go out anyway and pull out your phone and watch on Facebook or YouTube. You can even watch right now. It won't be live, but there is a significant backlog of shows that you can watch right now. Hey Slingshot, Friday nights at 7 on CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hey, I'm Chris DeVold. Tune in every Friday night on CentralValleyTalk.com when I bring you Sex, Drugs, Chris DeVold, where I'll give you 3 guesses on what we talk about. And I also vow to bring you 1 live local music act a week. So tune in every week because you never know what kind of music you're going to hear right here on CentralValleyTalk.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling. I want to say hi to Clay and Nancy and some of the folks that have been watching today, and some of them are old friends I haven't talked to in a while, and some of them are new friends. There's a lot of you out there, and I appreciate that you take the time, that not only do you take the time to tune in, but you take the time to make yourself important to yourself. So, individuality. The idea of losing that individuality when we join, if you will, some kind of a church or a spiritual organization. And, you know, there's enough there for a show for many days, but as someone that seeks to make themselves and their individuality one of the prime focuses in living their life, you cannot create a greater and higher degree of individuality than through what we can call self-realizing and self-empowering and taking and putting into practice in your day-to-day life experience things that will, as I've said in the past, elevate your degree of livingness. And it's a concept that a lot of younger people don't understand because, you know, a lot of the baby boomers, as we raised our kids, you know, we sheltered them and we did a lot of things that kind of protected them from the outside world, if you will. They get out in the outside world and they want to be important, but the world doesn't necessarily treat them that way. And so they look for ways to generate that importance for themselves, and sometimes it's constructive and sometimes it's destructive. You know, when you begin to pause and reflect on how important you are as an individual, when you recognize that you are a spiritual being, that you are the divine principle that is expressing as you, through you, what that means to you and how you can embody that and put that into a practice in day-to-day life experience such that when I talk about living at a greater and higher degree of livingness, you cannot be any greater of an individual than living at that level. That's discovering who you are. That's discovering the nature of the gifts that are specifically yours, and then putting those gifts into practice. I'm gonna kind of take off on a tangent here real quick, and that is there's a fellow, I believe his name is Rod Menendez. There was an article last week about him. He was born with no arms, no legs. He is now a football coach at a high school in Southern California, or junior high, I don't remember which. There's another fella that, and as I was looking this up, this individual is from Oakhurst, California, and it's near and dear to me because that's where, you know, I lived for quite a few years with my family. That's where my kids went to school, and he actually went to school with my kids. He joined the Marines. He was deployed. He ran across something that blew up underneath him, and he lost both of his legs. Today, as I'm speaking to you, he is a basketball coach in a Southern California high school or junior high school, I don't remember which. This just kind of came up and I want to talk about it. Both these individuals could have looked at what life brought to them and said, I'm toast, right? But when they began to recognize that the power to create and experience and express their life at a higher, greater degree depended upon them owning their life. And you can't become any greater of an individual than when you begin to own your life and then move forward. And there are great things to be experienced. That's why when I started this and I'm going through this, because I so strongly believe in this concept of the power of life as expressed through each and every one of us. Holmes says, learn to clear of your thought everything that obstructs your belief in goodness and the givingness of life. Every time you seek to create an understanding a thought of life being good, expressing good, and a doubt, a thought comes that is judgmental or anything that is not life affirming, bring out that mental broom and sweep it out of your closet. Own the greater good. Yes, life can bring things at us that can be tremendously tragic. I know that personally, but I also know that we can meet those things with greater understanding of the truth of who we are, and we can transcend those things in our life. We can learn from them, and yes, we may have some times in our life when we are sad, absolutely. But in our life expression, when we understand that we have a greater God and a greater good, we will find that greater good within ourselves and be able to express it in our individual life. We can be greater individuals, more powerful individuals. Moving forward, he says, the key note of thought in every corner of our mind and in every fiber of our being should be that life works in and through us to work for us. But it works at our direction. If we're directing it in limiting ways, if we're directing it in ways that life mirrors back to us things that we don't like, we got to go to the source of that, and that source lies within us. That's where our power is. We can do that. He says, and he gives a little affirmation. He says, learn to see through the confusion into peace. Learn to see through the sickness into health. Learn to see through poverty into success. Learn to see through limitation into abundance, and to believe in the all-sustaining good. Learn to trust in God, Spirit, first cause, principle, goddess, however you understand it. Learn to trust in it. Learn to have faith in it. Learn to grow your belief in it. Learn to see and seek to see a greater good reflecting back in that mirror of your life. And you can do that. It's awesome. He says, there are certain fundamental erroneous calculations which we must get rid of. We must cast out of consciousness every form of fear, every belief in a devil, every belief in hell, every belief in future punishment, every belief in divine vindictiveness. He says, our refusal to admit the reality of such beliefs is a denial of them. And when you begin to deny things that will harm you, that will limit your life experience, you will begin to demonstrate a greater good. It may be a journey of small steps to begin with, but as you stick to the journey, as you stay consistent and stay committed, the steps will get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. He says, we can use statements, that give direction to our subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is where we hold a lot of those beliefs that limit us. No doubt about it. It's the subconscious mind that defines how we understand our place in the world, how we define ourselves in the world, and what our comfort zone is. And it is that subconscious mind that will basically cut our knees out from underneath us when we're seeking to create a better life for ourselves if we don't work consistently and commit to creating a better life for ourselves. One of the examples I use is the idea of a thermostat like you have in your house. There's an upper level and there's a lower level. If it gets too hot, the temperature goes above here, it kicks the air conditioning on to bring the temperature back down. If it goes too low, it kicks the heater on to bring the temperature back up to our comfort zone. It works the same way in our life experience. If our comfort zone, if our life experience falls below that lower level, well, the heater kicks on. We become more active. We do things to get us back up in our comfort zone. But also, when we exceed the level of how we have self-defined ourselves through our beliefs, and we jump above it here, the air conditioning comes on, the freezer comes on. In other words, energy is taken away from us. We begin to self-sabotage. One of the greatest areas that this has been seen and expressed is the individuals that win these large sums in the lotteries, the lottos or whatever, and within 5 years, 6 years or whatever, their life is worse off than it was before they won the lottery. Oftentimes they're in a higher degree of poverty. There's books written about this. It's a it's a phenomena that until people began to see it happen on an ongoing basis, they couldn't even begin to believe it, but it's true. And believe it for yourself. You know, you've got to, when you seek to create a greater good in your life expression, you seek to move yourself above that comfort zone, okay? Be prepared. There's things that are going to unfold for you in such a way to bring you back down below that. Recognize them. And also recognize the thoughts that are going to bubble up that you're going to become aware it's those kind of thoughts that are taking me down. And I'm not going to be subject to those kind of thoughts anymore. My thought has power. Own that power. My thoughts for good are good. Own that good. And then if you have to deny the thought or first deny it and then make an affirmative statement in opposition to it, do whatever you have to do. Find some organization like a New Thought Center or church where you can begin to learn various tools that you can put into practice in your life, such that you create a greater life for yourself. It's incredible what can happen, what's available to you. I'm gonna go to my last commercial break, and I'll see you when I come back.
Hi everyone, I am Sparkle Sujin with the Everything Sparkle Show. Tune in every Thursday live at 4 p.m. You will see people that are motivational, inspirational, inspiring, and of course, entertaining. We have a great time. We learn things about how big celebrities are inspiring big names here in Fresno. Hugh Hefner is the reason we have Fresno Magazine, and Gnarly Charlie got his start because Johnny Carson told him to. So, tune in, you'll learn something new, and have a good time.
If your home floods, who will you call? When your house springs a leak, it's time to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. Clean Master will be there in 60 minutes to start fixing your home. And Clean Master bills your insurance directly, saving you the hassle because you've got enough to worry about. Clean Master also offers carpet and upholstery cleaning, carpet repair, pet odor removal, and more. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, 559-213-9430, and visit cleanmasterflood.com. Doctor in Sukasa allows you to connect with your doctor when you need a quick treatment. Avoid a trip to a medical clinic or emergency room and connect by video with your doctor from your home, work, or anywhere. Just go to drinsukasa.com on your phone, tablet, or computer. Dr. in Sukasa provides quality care that is convenient, bilingual, and affordable, so you are never left without access to health care. Visit drinsukasa.com today. Are you thinking of selling your home? Since 2004, the Souza Group, brokered by eXp Realty, has specialized in premier property listings and sales located in the Clovis Unified and North Fresno markets. The Souza Group will do their best to exceed your expectations. Visit clovisunifiedhomes.com. The Kern family of the Kern Family Farm invites you to eat delicious, nutritious, organic produce available at the Gnarly Carrot, located at 32954 Road 222 in North Fork, California. The Gnarly Carrot is a local, natural, seasonally changing market, offering a wide range of products from local Central Valley vendors. Get your caffeine fix, grab a smoothie, and support small businesses. Learn more at KernFamilyFarm.com and visit the Gnarly Carrot today.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling. And moving forward, understanding when Holmes and the various pioneers of New Thought they didn't create the tools or the principles. What they did was they discovered various principles and they They figured out how we as individuals can put them into practice in our day-to-day life experience, such that we can create and be the creators of our own life experience and expression on one side, and on the other side, that as we do so, not only is that for each and every one of us a great thing to experience as we experience a greater life, but that as we as individuals create a greater life experience and expression for ourselves, we are affecting the greater world at large. And Dr. Holmes, and let's see if I can find this real quick, because again, I'm kind of off. Yeah, here it is. I'm kind of off on a tangent, but let me give you an idea of how he believed we as New Thought practitioners, science of mind practitioners, and every one of us that takes this spiritual philosophy and puts it into practice in their life becomes a practitioner of that philosophy. And he says here, this is out of a little book called The Hidden Power of the Bible. He says, world peace. He said, world peace will appear when the nations, realizing that there is good enough to go around, learn to live together in harmony. Nothing unusual in that statement. You know, people have kind of looked out, when all the world recognizes that, there's enough good to go around, then, maybe the world can get it together. But he said, this is a matter of self-training among the different peoples, an international understanding. This international consciousness is being born to the nations today and will yet shine full-orbed. He says, then we shall cease to have wars. He says, the world is made up of individual members, so we must begin with the unit. We cannot carry discord into harmony, for discord is a lack of the proper appreciation of harmony. As a straight line finds no abiding place in a curve, so discord finds no abiding place in harmony. We cannot carry our shoulders to the Spirit, for the Spirit is untroubled. We cannot carry our troubles to the Spirit, for the Spirit is untroubled. We approach God only through His own nature. If one wishes to experience peace, he must first become peace and peaceful in his own thought, in his own life. So, careful self-training will do this, watching one's thought and carefully discarding such mental attitudes as are of a destructive nature. This is possible for each and every one of us. He says, the divine ear cannot listen to discord. Become peaceful and you will find peace, and you will create peace in the world. That's our sacred journey, our sacred duty. You don't have to have a definition necessarily of divine principle, of God per se. I would posit that you could even be an atheist and still embody the concept of creating peace within yourself and seeing it reflected into the world. There's a power within each and every one of us that's available to us at the level we open ourselves up. But we got to open ourselves up to it. We got to become aware of it. We have to make certain choices. He says, all evil is either a misuse of this power or a mistaken understanding of it. Everything that is wrong in our experience, whether we call it pain, sickness, poverty, or unhappiness, is the denial of the allness of God, the allness of good. Okay? Takes place in here. He says, life is one with perfect unity from which everything proceeds, including yourself and all your experiences, including yourself and all your experiences. Where are you going to turn in your life that you're willing to accept a less than experience because you want to hold on to some limiting belief, judgment, or idea? When you begin to realize that your role in life is to live life at a higher, greater degree of livingness, and what that means to you as an individual, and that as you came into this world in potentiality, everything you could need, want, and desire is available to you, is available for you as you open yourself up to that realization, and that there is no place in time in your life expression, no predicament in your life experience that limits you from starting where you're at right here, right now, today. Or not. Choice is yours. Choice has always been yours. You may not have always known that you've had the choice. And that's where our self-empowerment starts, with the knowing that we have choice, with knowing that choice is powerful, with knowing that as we make those choices, there's something in this thing called life that responds to us. It responds to us with love and goodness at the level of our faith, confidence, and belief. He says, when Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within, he was telling us that our approach to life is through an interior awareness. When he told us that God within us is already perfect, he was telling us what has since been rediscovered in the science of mind and other new thought organizations' teachings. He says, there is a principle of perfection at the center of every individual's life. We're all, and I've said this many times, we're all created equally. We're not all born in equal circumstances, but we're all created with all the tools that we have, that we can need to express our life at the greatest and highest degree of livingness. Throughout all times, we often see in history that those are the exceptions, the exception that stood out above the negative, whatever it is, the exception that rose above, the exception that overachieved, that got beyond. And yet the ability to be at the same level of that exception is available to each of us in our life. We can turn our backs on it, we can deny it, but it doesn't change it, doesn't make it go away. It's there, it's available, and it awaits you. You and you alone. He says, we are either going to accept these things as theories about some nebulous and theoretical spiritual existence, or we're going to accept them as Jesus meant them to be accepted, as real, actual facts in the life that we live here and now. Can you be willing here and now to accept the actual fact of the truth of who you are, that you are the divine principle, that you are God expressing as you, that in the beginning there was God, and out of God and from God all that was created was created. Nothing, there was not God and nothing as something separate from God. In the beginning was God, therefore all of creation, all that's transpired is still the divine principle, is God expressing. And this God is often defined as love, as perfection, as harmony, as wholeness, as peace. If we're not seeing those things in our individual world, we can't go out into the bigger, greater outside world and enforce our thoughts, our judgments out there, but we can darn sure go within ourselves where the kingdom of heaven is to be found, where God is to be found, when the source of our power is to be found. We can go within ourselves, within our inner beingness. We can meet there that which is. We can begin to learn the truth of who we are and express that truth in our life, in this thing called life. Your life, my life, there is but one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. And that life is our life now. And with that, I want to close with just the last paragraph here. He says, we not only have the ability to do this, but we have the tools with which to do it. The power is faith. The tools are thoughts and ideas. Let us learn then how to use them. On the front cover of the Science of Mind book, at least in the paperback form, it says, a philosophy of faith, a way of living, or a way of life. It's not the only one. I think it's a pretty good one. Find out what works for you. If you happen to be of a younger generation and you're seeking to stand out, to express, understand, learn, and grow your expression of a great individualized being, learn the truth of who you are. Put that truth into play in your life, in this thing called life, and you'll rise to ever greater and higher levels, higher than what you believe right now, greater than what you could ever even imagine. And that is life. And that's it for this week. So next week we'll move on. I guess it'll be chapter 5 and maybe beyond. I don't know. Depends on how we're moving. I'm glad you've been with us today. I hope you've enjoyed what I have shared. Hope you give it some thought. Hope you consider putting it into practice. And I'll see you next time. As you go through the week, know the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is there. All is well. Have a great week.